We carry past mistakes like a silent burden. Each failure makes the mind wonder if we are truly worthy of love or forgiveness. The truth is, the past does not define your value, and God's grace reminds us that every mistake can be healed. When recalling the mistakes that once hurt us, guilt can make us hesitate. But Scripture reminds us that He is faithful, just, and always ready to cleanse our wrongs. By simply believing and confessing, the soul begins to be freed from the old burden. Failures at work or in relationships are not a final sentence. They are lessons that teach us how to see ourselves clearly and find forgiveness within. Trusting God means knowing that He does not judge you based on the past. Shame over wrong choices can sometimes make us want to hide from everything, but grace allows you to step out of that darkness. Every step toward forgiveness is a step toward seeing your worth no longer controlled by past mistakes. You don't need to be perfect to feel God's love. He doesn't score us based on achievements or failures. Instead, He wants us to recognize the power in letting go of guilt and opening our hearts to the unconditional love He offers. When remembering mistakes that once caused pain, it's easy to feel like there's no way back. But the truth is, grace transforms step by step. Each time we admit a fault and ask for forgiveness, the soul is released from feeling trapped in the past. Reflecting on wrong decisions can make us doubt ourselves, but the important thing is not to stay trapped in self-blame. God calls us to trust that every mistake can become an opportunity to learn and grow. The mistakes that once caused us pain no longer have power when grace is present. By choosing to trust God, we find the strength to rise and keep moving forward. Every day is a chance to live freely, without the past holding us back. Forgiveness not only frees the soul, but opens the door to inner peace. When we face our mistakes honestly, without hiding or justifying them, we feel the relief of God's grace surrounding every shadow in our hearts. Shame often makes us hesitant to face others or even ourselves. But grace allows us to acknowledge reality without pressure, without the stamp of unworthy. Every time we forgive ourselves is a step toward true freedom. Looking back at the past with the light of grace helps us see that every failure carries a lesson. There's no need for self-reproach or torment, just an open heart to accept God's help. When we do this, the soul can live more peacefully each day. Feeling trapped in mistakes can affect every part of life, but when we trust God, we realize that liberation doesn't come from our effort, but from receiving grace. This is the power that changes how we see ourselves. Past failures or wrong choices do not diminish your value. They are experiences meant to teach you how to move forward. Through the lens of grace, mistakes become opportunities to grow and to recognize God's unconditional love. Grace doesn't require you to change before being loved. He loves and forgives even when you feel unready. This reminds us that human worth is not based on perfection or avoiding mistakes, but on God's love for you. Whenever guilt arises, remember that it does not define you. Letting go of mistakes means stepping out of the past and trusting that God has the power to turn errors into lessons and scars into testimonies of restoration. Choosing to focus on forgiveness rather than guilt brings greater freedom. When you know that the past no longer controls your value, you can live each day with faith, courage to face challenges, and experience the love, forgiveness, and unconditional grace of God. Wounds from the past often make us hesitant and fearful. When we view them in the light of grace, every pain becomes an opportunity to learn. Instead of letting shame control our lives, We can turn mistakes into strength, helping the soul stand firm while opening the door to true peace and restoration. Lingering regret only keeps us trapped in the past. When we choose to trust God, scars become evidence of His faithfulness and mercy. Every step of forgiveness, every sincere apology, whether to ourselves or others, is an act that frees the soul, guiding us toward freedom and peace. Past mistakes often make us doubt our abilities. When we see painful experiences in the light of grace, they become tools for learning and growth. The past no longer has the power to control emotions or behavior. Forgiveness and acceptance open the way to living more realistically, peacefully, and freely each day. Every scar carries a story of survival. When we acknowledge them not with regret but with faith, they become living proof of the strength to recover. Forgiving ourselves and others not only heals broken relationships, but also brings the ability to live freely and experience true peace in the soul. Guilt from the past can easily make us undervalue ourselves. Self-imposed punishment only delays progress. When we trust God, every wound becomes a source of strength. We learn to use negative experiences to train the soul, build resilience, and create opportunities for real restoration, not only in emotions but also in actions. Painful experiences can sometimes lead to fear and lack of confidence. When we learn to see them through the light of grace, every pain becomes proof of God's faithfulness. Strength is not in avoiding mistakes, but in standing up and forgiving ourselves. Every step toward forgiveness is a step toward freedom and restoration. Regret over wrong decisions that hurt ourselves or others can cause mental pressure. When we trust God, we realize that scars do not define our worth. Instead of avoiding them, we turn pain into lessons, use it to grow, and find peace through forgiveness and opening our hearts to grace. Mistakes that once left our souls weak now become proof of resilience. When seen in the light of grace, all suffering is transformed into strength. Forgiving ourselves and others lightens the soul, opens new paths, and turns pain into practical experience for living with peace, freedom, and courage. Feeling trapped in the past often blocks present action. When we trust God, scars become living proof of recovery. We learn to forgive, to learn from painful experiences, and to free the soul. The past no longer controls us, but becomes a foundation to live with hope and confidence. Past failures and hurts are not signs of weakness. When seen in the light of grace, they become living proof of inner strength. Forgiving and acknowledging mistakes are practical acts that free the soul, turn suffering into strength, and open opportunities to live peacefully, freely, and proactively in the present. Guilt and failure can sometimes make us doubt our worth. When we trust God, every wound becomes evidence of the ability to overcome challenges. Learning to forgive ourselves and others is an act that frees the soul, prevents the past from controlling us, and opens the way to living realistically, peacefully, and with greater strength. Every negative experience contains an important lesson. When seen in the light of grace, they become learning tools, helping transform suffering into practical strength. Forgiveness and acceptance not only heal pain, but also open the way to living freely, peacefully, and experiencing true restoration in the soul. Spiritual scars that once made us hesitant now serve as proof of resilience. When we learn to view mistakes with faith, they become strength. Forgiving, acknowledging mistakes, and learning from painful experiences lighten the soul, open new paths, and turn the past into living proof of God's faithfulness and grace. Past pain can become a barrier, if we hold on to guilt. When seen in the light of grace, every wound is transformed. Forgiving ourselves and others is a practical way to free the soul, turn pain into valuable experience, and open the possibility to live with hope, freedom, and peace in the present. Every scar tells a story of survival and inner strength. When we trust God, they become evidence of faithfulness and the ability to recover. Forgiving, acknowledging mistakes, and learning from the past are practical acts that free the soul, allowing us to live fully with peace, freedom, and real hope, no longer controlled by the past. Forgiveness is not just words, it is a way of life. By entrusting our burdens and past mistakes to God, the soul is lightened. Living in the light of grace allows us to overcome the past, recognize our true worth, and move forward with genuine hope. Each day offers the chance to choose a different path. The past no longer controls our emotions or actions. When we trust in God, we learn to forgive ourselves, free our souls, and live with inner freedom, experiencing peace even after past failures. Handing all burdens and mistakes to God brings healing to the soul. Old wounds lose their power over our lives and instead become evidence of resilience. Living by grace gives meaning to each present step and creates deep, lasting peace. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting it, is the active choice to live in freedom. By trusting God, we can live each day in the light of grace. The past no longer burdens us, and painful experiences become proof of real growth and renewal. Guilt can pull us into negative cycles. By entrusting our mistakes to God, we release ourselves from the weight. Living in grace transforms pain into strength, opening the way to move forward with peace, hope, and confidence in the future. Forgiveness is not only prayer but also practical action. Letting go of the past lightens the soul. Each decision to live by grace allows us to face challenges with courage, experience freedom, and trust that God is guiding every step. Entrusting the past to God prevents self-condemnation. Each step toward forgiveness opens the possibility of a fuller life. Old wounds become living proof of restoration and God's faithfulness, allowing us to move toward the future with real hope. Living in the light of grace means accepting that the past does not define us. By forgiving ourselves and others, we free our souls from guilt and shame. This makes every day an opportunity to live meaningfully and freely. Painful experiences can become motivation if properly embraced. By entrusting our mistakes to God, we learn to transform suffering into restoration. Every act of forgiveness, every decision to live by grace, is a practical step toward a more peaceful life. Forgiveness is a practical way to face the past without being controlled by it. Trusting God heals the soul, and old wounds become evidence of inner strength. Each day, lived in grace, is an opportunity to turn challenges into valuable lessons. Guilt can keep us in darkness if not entrusted to God. By learning to forgive and live in grace, we step into the light. Old wounds become proof of restoration, and the soul is free to live fully, peacefully, and practically. Each day is a chance to choose forgiveness instead of hatred or blame. Trusting God transforms the burdens of the past. Living by grace allows us to experience life with peace, hope, and the ability to achieve better outcomes. Forgiveness releases negative energy and focuses us on the present. Entrusting all mistakes to God brings healing to the soul. Past experiences become evidence of recovery. Each day, lived in grace is a practical step toward freedom, peace, and hope. Living by grace does not mean avoiding the past, but learning to use it for growth. By forgiving ourselves and others, we free the soul from shame and guilt. The past loses its power, becoming evidence of renewal and practical hope. Entrusting our burdens to God lightens the soul and brings peace. Every decision to live by grace opens opportunities for restoration and growth. Old wounds no longer control us, becoming living proof of a renewed life, full of hope and inner freedom.